Hello everybody, well it's time for another street light comparison video. Alright, so today we're going to compare the AJ Ferguson Zodiac to the Daylite Adelaide. Alright, so both of these of course are street light battens that were used in Australia from probably the late 50s all the way up till the late 80s. Okay, so both of these would have replaced incandescent street lights, you know, like probably the big 300 watters is what we used. There is still some of those old incandescent street light fittings around actually, but they're very rare because these killed them off pretty much. You'll find them in some old areas like old factories, old terminal stations, maybe some abandoned places. Yawning. So these replaced those, and then in the late 80s we switched over to high intensity discharge lights like mercury vapor and high pressure sodium, and those are what replaced these. Okay, so, and there were some high intensity discharge lights available when these were around. We had low pressure sodium, okay, that was the first. Then we switched over to high pressure sodium mercury vapor in the 80s. Okay, like you've seen those, the mercury vapor and high pressure sodium, the Roadstar and the OptiSpan, and the OptiSpan, and of course the Urbans, the Suburban, the B2224 and B223, those were the replacements. Okay, well it would not have been those fittings, but the lamps it is. But I think you had the OptiSpec, which I think came later. Okay. Alright, so we're going to take a look at both of these and compare them, just to see the difference. Okay, well first thing to note is length. Okay, well all the differences. We'll do differences first. One is the brand. This is made by AJ Ferguson. This is I think made by Daylite. I think. Well, it's called the Daylite Adelaide. Okay. This is was used on the Category V roads. This one here was used on Category P roads. Okay, this one here uses 2 tubes, this one has 4, but this one you could also get in 3 and 2 as well, depending on the road. Okay, this one here, the starters are concealed, so to change them you've got to open the plate up, as with this one here it's bored through. Let's see, both of these you can side mount, okay, for a spigot entry on either end, and you can also top mount them. To top mount them, there's this one is a arm that screws in from the top of this. You got this one here. There's metal rods that screw into the ends, and you can suspend it from the top. Another difference is the length. This one here is 60 centimeters. This one here is 1.2 meters. Okay. Another thing is the lamp calibers. This one here used F20T12 tubes. This one here used F40T12 tubes. Okay, and both of these are convenient nowadays. You can actually use 18 watt tubes in here, and you can use 36 in here, or you can use 9 watt LED or 18 watt LED in that. Okay, and that's what I've got in them right now. I've got LEDs in them, okay, but normally it would have been fluorescent. But nowadays, these lights you'll see they're putting LED tubes in them rather than getting rid of them. Both of these I did restore, of course, that's why they look new. Okay, I rewired both of them as well. Okay, all the electrical gear in these is not original, it's all brand new. Okay, the only parts that are original is the diffusers, the chassis, and the plates. Okay, they're the only original parts. All the other parts, such as the screws, the tubes, the lamp holders, and the ballasts, the wiring, terminal blocks, and everything is all new. Okay, and the starter receptacles. Alright, so the diffuser on this one's held on by these 2 little latching devices here on either side. The Daylite is held on by 4. It's got 2 here and 2 on the other end. One is actually retained, so the diffuser doesn't fall off, and this one here, it's retained as well. Weight-wise, this one here, it's not that heavy. This one here is a lot more heavier because you've got 4 heavy ballasts in it, and also you've got this big die-cast chassis. Okay, this one's got die-cast chassis as well, but they're not as heavy as the street LED and the road LED though. The the ones that we're using now in 2022 and 2021. All right, so now we'll do some similarities, okay. What's the same about them? Well, they're both battens, okay, they're both street lights, okay. They both use tubes, okay. And they were both from the same era, okay. So, so now we'll open these up and we'll take a look at them. So to open this up you need to, the diffuser on this one's held on by these 2 little black nuts, as with this one it's held on with wing nuts, okay. To open it up, you just need to loosen these, so you turn them anti-clockwise. This one here, you just need to loosen. This one here, you just loosen it up, so it will flick out like that. And then the diffuser comes off. Oh, looks like the seal's coming out on here. We'll just fix that up. Okay. I also know things that the seal on both of these I had to replace as well. I put new seals on both of these. Okay, and to take this diffuser out, I just unhook it like that, and that's the diffuser for the Zodiac. So we'll just set him, and we'll just set him here. Okay, on the daylight, to undo this one, you need to loosen these wing nuts here. You just need to undo these ones here. This is the retained end, by the way. On this side, it's retained. Okay, to get it out, you just undo them completely, and the diffuser will come off completely. I'm not going to take it off completely for this video. We're just going to loosen it just to show you what's inside. Okay, just going to unscrew this. Okay, and the same on this side. Okay. Okay, and now we can take the diffuser off. So those just flick out like that. Okay, so those will just flick up like that. And now we can lift the diffuser up like this and it will flick open. Okay, just like that. Okay. So now you can see the plates and the tubes. Okay. The tubes I have in them are these SAL tubes, of course. I can actually still smell the paint from when I restored it. Okay, both of these I had to repaint. I painted the chassis grey, okay, to match the road LED and the street LED plates. I just left white. Okay, this daylite Adelaide, each lamp holder I had to use 4 packing plates behind them because it's just a wee bit longer. This one here I didn't need to use any packing plates. This one here I needed 4 per lamp holder, so that's quite a bit. And the packing plates I made myself. They're just washers that I drilled holes into so I could use it. There was actually packers that you could get for these lamp holders. They don't make them anymore, so just better off making my own. And they work. Okay. All right. So you can see here on this Zodiac, the starters are here where these screws are. On the daylight, they're right here. Okay. So both of these with LED tubes, they will turn on instantly. There'll be no blinking. Okay, but I can put fluorescent in these if I want to. Okay, I'll probably do that if I was doing some crazy video with them, you know. When I did the original videos on these, I did do the fluorescents and the LEDs together just to show you the versatility of both buttons. Okay, so the plate on the Zodiac here is held on by these latching devices. On the daylight, there was actually 4 spring-loaded parts that you pull out, and then that would release it. Unfortunately for this one, they were broken, so I had to remove them and chuck them. So I've just got screws held on with blue tack, just holding it in there until I can find something to replace them with. Okay, so that's the Zodiac there, and that's the daylight. So we'll open these up now. We'll take a look inside the chassis. Okay. All right. So we'll just unhook this here, just like this. Okay. So that's the plate from the Zodiac now off. Now the daylight. Let's see. I just need to pull some screws out here. The blue tack is just to stop the screws from falling out. Okay. That's why I've got blue tack on them. I've just got to pull them out on the one end. I don't have to do both ends. Okay, because the other end is what's technically holding the plate in. Okay, so for me to pull the plate out, I just need to lift and slide it out. Okay, so now we can lift this up and we can slide it. And now we can flip this over. Alright, so now we've got them both open. Okay, so here's what's inside both of the fittings. Okay, alright, so there's the chassis of the Zodiac, there's the plate of the Zodiac. Okay, you can see in the daylight, there's the daylight there. Alright, if you can see that. Okay, so for both of these, we've got these plugs that hold the plates into the chassis. Okay, those are just connecting the power. Okay, so I made it so you could unplug it. Originally that's what they were. Okay, so you just simply unplug the plate so you can take the plate down to service it, clean it or anything like that. And that makes it convenient. Now with the Zodiac here, you can see the 2 ballasts here. And you can see the starter receptacles are here because they're concealed. These are HPM ones, of course, 390. The lamp holders on both are the HPM 382. Okay. For the main chassis, I used a big terminal block. Inside here, I put a small terminal block just to get the mains leading to it. Okay. And of course, on the daylight, we've got 4 ballasts because there's 4 tubes, 4 starter receptacles, and 1 big terminal block. Okay. And And the lamp holder ends on the daylight are actually removable, as with these ones here, they're actually fixed. You can't really take those ones off. Okay? Alright? So that's technically all that's inside the chassis, the fittings. You can see the ballasts, which are here on the Zodiac, and of course the ballasts on the Daylite. So yeah, they're both very good on the inside. They look almost brand new, well, because I've restored them. You can see they've got the rubber seal here around the chassis to keep the water out. Insisting that these will be mounted, you know, top ways. The water can't really get into it, but it's always good to have a seal around the diffuser, and that also helps keep moisture out and everything like that, and dew. Okay, now on the Zodiac, if you see here, this hole here is for top mounting, this hole here is for a photo cell. Okay, and of course, this doesn't have a photo cell, of course. So when these holes are not being used, they're covered up by these two little covers here on the top of the chassis. On the Daylite, there doesn't appear to be anywhere where you can put a photo cell on it. So the photo cell was either mounted on the pole, okay. So I do believe it might have had a pole-mounted photo cell, not on the fitting. Okay. So now the ballasts that I have in here are made by CMP. Okay, they're all Australian made. Okay. These ones here are push terminals. This one here's got screw terminals. These are actually a newer one. These are the older one. And you can see all the wiring is all brand new. The brown wire, of course, is the live, and the blue is the neutral, and of course green is earth. Same for here. There's a lot more wires on here because there's 4 tubes. Okay, so the more tubes you have, the more wires you have. Okay, on the double version and the triple version, there'll be less wires compared to this one. This is the quad, just like the road LED. The daylight and the road LED are very similar because you can have, you know, you can have 2, 3, or 4 tubes. So it's the same with the road LED with the panels. You can have 2, 3, or 4 panels. Okay, so it's very similar to that. And the Zodiac is the equivalent to the street LED, but this is 2 tubes. I don't know if there was ever a single tube version of this available. There might have been, but I just don't know. Okay, there probably might have been a single tube. I'm not 100% sure if there was, but the street LED is just a single square LED panel. And then you got the road LED MIDI, which is the next one on, which has 2 or 1 panels. Okay, so that would be probably the equivalent of this. Okay. So, yeah, they're both good lights. I like both of these, and they're both, both history. Okay, they're both hippie lights, to be exact, because if you were a hippie back in the 60s, these are what you would have seen. You probably might have had coloured tubes, and if you had them on a private residence, you know, private property, and you might have probably had coloured tubes in it, like coloured T12, F40, and F20 tubes. Okay, for the hippie era, that would have been nice. You could probably use this on your, for a mood if you're a hippie, but nowadays I've got coloured LED tube. I did do a coloured LED tube demonstration in this when I did the video on it. I haven't done coloured tube in this. Well, I can only put 2 colours in. That one I can put 4 in. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll put these back together and we'll fire them up for you. Okay, so we'll put the Zodiac together, put the plate back into the chassis. Sure I'm doing it right. Oops, I've put this on the wrong way. I've got to put it on the correct way. So it goes this way. Okay, so you hook that under there like so. And then you just slide this back on here. And then that will clip in there. And that will hold the plate in place. Now the diffuser, let's put that back on. Just slide this on here like so. And then you close him back up. Like that, your latching device, and you just tighten it up. Okay, and you do it up tight. You want to do this up tight enough so it's airtight, because you don't want moisture getting in there. So you do it up airtight. Okay, and it's also watertight as well because it's a weatherproof batten. So, right, so there's that one. Okay, we'll just set him there. Now we'll put the daylight back together. Okay. Now this plate's a lot heavier than the Zodiac because there's 4 ballasts, and the ballasts are what make all the weight on these battens. So technically the actual plate weight is kind of irrelevant. Okay, it's the ballasts that are the heavy part. Like if I had no ballast in this and I just had it wired up for LED tubes only, it would have been a lot lighter. Now we'll put our retainer screws back in. Just push those in place. Alright, that's lights now all back together. So I'll just check the ones on this end here just to be sure they haven't come out, and they haven't. Alright, so we're all back together now. Alright, so I've got a lead in there. Now, just put this back on, close this up, just need to lift it, and line it up. Okay, just get that all lined up with the seal perfectly, because we need to get that perfectly in line. Now we just do the latching devices back up. Get that in there. And then you just tighten up the wing nut, and that will lock it in place. Same for this side here. Do up the wing nut, and that will lock it in. The wing nuts that I have on here aren't original, by the way. The original ones were rusted out, and I couldn't do much with them. So I just bought some new ones. I was able to buy some new ones though. Okay, and now the same for this end here. Just repeat the process. Get that on there and tighten it down. Okay, same with this. You want to do it up so it's airtight because you don't want rubbish getting in these. Because a lot of these old daylights and these old zodiacs, you tend to see a lot of dead insects in the diffusers because people haven't done them up properly. Okay, and even with standard non-wear-approved buttons like my Clevertronics emergency buttons out in the kitchen, those tend to get lots of dead bugs in the diffusers. Alright, now we'll plug both of these in and we'll fire them up. Alright? Okay, so we'll start off with the Zodiac. Okay. Oh yeah, I've got the tubes the wrong way. Let me just turn this around. The tubes I've got in both of these are neutral white, of course. Alright. Now that's what it looks like that. Okay, now LED, it's going to be a little bit brighter than the fluorescents that these were originally up for, because LEDs tend to be brighter than fluorescent. Okay, so that's 2x8 watt LED, or 9 watt actually. So as you can see there, putting out a good amount of light too. Alright. Now we'll plug in the daylite. Okay, I'll just get the plug here. I'll show you this one. Okay, and there we go. 4x18 watt LED. As you can see, it is very bright. A lot brighter than that because you've got 2 in that and you've got 4 in that. Okay, so that's pretty bright. That would definitely. That's not as bright as the road LED though, but it would be. But it is bright. Probably might be as bright as the road LED MIDI probably. Okay, but it is bright. Okay, and the tubes are Type A, of course, which means you need starters to use them. If you don't have those starters in, the tubes don't work. Okay, so yeah, that's looking quite nice, by the way. So yeah, I'm actually quite pleased on how both of these restored as well. Okay, this one I got from a guy in Bendigo. This I got from a terminal station or a switch substation in Ferntree Gully. But yeah, they're both good battens. Okay, I'll turn this one up like that so you can see it. Okay, so there you go. So that is the Daylite Adelaide and the Ferguson Zodiac comparison. Just to give you a little education on the old street lights, what we used back in the 60s in Australia. So I hope you enjoyed, and that'll be it.